Welcome. It's a sunny, well, actually, it's an overcast Saturday here in Oklahoma City. I'm going to try to get through this without my German Shepherd rattling its bowl. Today, I want to talk about getting the best return on investment for your time when you're using the practice test. We use two, or have access to two. One is from Pearson VUE that comes with the textbook. The other one is part of the IT Pro TV, which I will cover more in depth in another video on resources for the course. There's some other stuff. We have uh, VMware and Microsoft sites where you could get free software for student use. I've got a list of self-enrolled classes that you may want to take. There's a number of things that don't fit in a neat little box. But let's talk about practice test. Okay. If you've registered your book and you go to digital purchases, you should see online access test. The other thing you can do is you can go to pearsontestprep.com and log in. I prefer to use the Pearson VUE first for several reasons. One, I think the questions are a little better. It's a little more granular, and that'll let you go through and hone in on the areas that you don't know as well. Again, we don't want to spend all our time focusing on repeating things that you already know. You're going to go into exams, and I ran through this earlier, so I'm going to cancel it and not do a new test. You'll notice a number of things. There are usually a number of exams. I usually click and unclick and clear all the objectives or chapters. It depends on what test it is and what publisher. And then go ahead and save those exam settings. That way I don't have to reset them every time. Now you may want to, if you're getting too many questions, you may want to come in and turn off two tests or turn off three. Actually prefer doing all four at one time. There's also another one, do I know this already questions. You may want to start with that, clear all these and start with that. But again, I turn everything off and say, remember these settings. That way it's clean and I don't accidentally do it. I always go ahead and order by objectives. I randomize questions. I do not want to take more than 60 questions. At least for me personally, if I start doing over about 50 questions, I start just clicking answers. One of the things we do not want to do is we do not want to do that because we will start learning questions and associated answers and not paying attention to the content. These questions in the practice test are going to be similar and they are going to cover content that is on the test, but they are not the test questions. So you can't just learn the answers to these questions. You need to learn the content. What I recommend is going in and picking out one objective or one chapter. I usually go ahead, and this does not match up. For some reason, I've got the wrong spreadsheet, and I didn't have time to find the one I needed. I take these topics and put them in the first column. As I go through, I will get the number of questions. And you don't have to do this, but I actually have a total down here where it sums all the total questions, then divides the number of questions in a objective or chapter by the total and gives me a percentage. It just helps me kind of get an idea of what is weighted heavier in the chapter. When I finish a test, I put my grade. If I don't do as well, say I got a 65 or 68 on NetFlow and a 90 on incident response and a 50 on teams. That's actually incident response teams. I probably don't want to spend all my time in the area that I'm hitting 90%. I'm going to spend it on where I hit 50 and 68%. Okay. That way I'm not learning the stuff I'm already getting. There's some other features or other switches on the Kaplan, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Once you start, I've got to pick an exam. I've cleared all that. I'm going to pick, actually, I personally uh, turn them all on, all four, and the do you know this already. Uh, and then I'll go ahead and I'll choose a chapter and I'll start the test. And you'll notice that I've got 34 questions in this, so I would put 34 in this second column for the number of questions. And I usually go ahead and get the answer. If it's wrong, it'll be in red. If it's green, it will be in it'll be correct. It will give you an explanation. I would recommend reading the explanation whether you get it right or wrong. Okay. The other feature that's kind of nice about the Pearson is you can actually go in and it has link. If you have the ebook, it has links to the ebook. If you don't have the ebook, of course, you can go to the hard. Just look up the page in the book. You can take notes on different questions, which is kind of nice because if something pops out at you or you've got a way of remembering it, that works really well. Once you grade the exam, I'm going to go ahead and say okay, even though it will give you, and this is actually history. If I go back to product and go to history, that'll take me back to that same place I was at. Okay, go to review questions. Again, I can go back in and see what the correct answer was or should have been, and I can actually go read the section of the book that it came from. That's really helpful for me. A lot of times I will go and I will read that entire section or chapter again. Usually if I don't get something, I missed other things in that same area. I don't know whether it was I was tired, I just didn't read as closely. That will help you cover all the holes in your learning before you go spend $300 for a test. Again, I like their questions. I like the way they're written. They do a pretty good job. They have some pretty good pictures from some of the higher end tools, like we do the advanced security device manager with the ASAs. We don't typically do their firepower from Cisco, which is kind of their whole conglomerate group of security tools, Threat Grid, AMP, which is advanced malware protection. And it will give you screenshots. I will tell you on the exam, you will see screenshots. You will not necessarily have to know how to use the tools, but you will need to be able to answer questions and interpret the screenshots that you're given. Once you've got a pretty good grip on this, you may want to come back and go ahead and click all of these and pick just one exam and then go through. That will give you kind of weighted answers. You can actually go and say that I just want the ones that I've missed 6 times, or I don't want to see the ones I've answered more than 3 times correctly. Once you've gotten that done, I would go over to the Kaplan on IT Pro. The advantage of this is you're seeing new questions. Same content, new questions. You will not have gotten in the mode of learning them. This will give you a good idea of how much you actually are learning and how much you're just learning the questions. From the course library, go to the vendor, in this case Cisco, find the course, and access the Kaplan, launch the Kaplan practice exam. This may pop up with a release candidate for the test. You want to do the real deal. Take it a minute. There's a couple things a little different about the certification exam. It talks about the person that put it together, how to use the simulator, about the certification exam. any references it has. Um, they're actually going through and just talking to you about the exam. You can actually use this study calendar to set a time frame. I want to take the test in 2 months, and so I need to have chapters or objectives 1 through 3 done. Most of your time is going to be spent in the exam simulation and the flashcards, and these are very similar. Both are going to have a quick quiz. The quick quiz is kind of what I was suggesting you do on the Pearson at the end. It pulls questions from all the areas. It gives you an overall idea how you know for the test. Again, we want to go back and we want to customize this so we can look at exactly what you're getting right and what you need to work on. So you'll, just like on the Pearson, you'll pick a concept. In this case, it's 33 questions. I don't like this, the number of questions. The maximum is 33 and it doesn't automatically adjust. You're going to have to put that in. You want to say all questions. Now, if this number is over 50, you may want to limit this to 50 and then say the next time around, just say unused. Again, you can say previously incorrect. The ones I missed, if you want to go back and take it the second time, that's a good way to review the next day. I would not just sit down and do these tests. I would do one and then take some time and study and then come back and do the next one, and review the one that you took the day before. On the CAP one, I usually go show as you go and show answer explanations. Launch quiz. What device operates the physical layer of the OSI model? And that's going to be the hub. Again, it gives you the explanation. I would read that whether or not you got it right or wrong. Okay. Again, this one has some references, but a lot of these are not specific. These are going to go back to other different things out on the web. So you may see some resources that you haven't seen before. Once you've gone through these questions, you can actually check them for review. Just go to the next question. Regard to span and network taps. Basically, they have no IP address. Okay. Again, it gives you a link. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. I'm going to go out of the test. The flashcards are laid out exactly the same. You can randomize it, customize it, drill down. What I would probably do is once you've gone through all the objectives or chapters and broken those down and and reviewed the things you don't know, at that point come back and do the quick quiz. This pulls a weighted number of questions out of each area that matches up to the test. That'll give you a good idea of what you're going to score on the test. I think that's probably it for right now. It's not real complicated. It's just all about making sure that you're spending your time learning the things you don't know. The other thing is do not just sit and take these questions over and over and over again, because you will not learn the content. You will learn the questions and you will learn to associate the correct answer. However, on the actual certification exam, it is not going to be the same question. And if you don't know the content, you're going to be just struggling. It's a whole lot easier to learn it here than after you paid $300 or so for an exam. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you.